Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Walter. Happy birthday to you. How old are you now? Oh, I guess we know. No secrets there. Oh,
Not working.
can't light your fire? Oh, you must be old. Look at that. Yay! It's lit. Now, make a wish and blow it out. You know how to blow, don't you?
Yeah.
Just put your lips together and blow.
Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and this is my vlog for February the 4th, 2019. And actually, it is not Monday, February the 4th, 2019. It's actually Sunday, February the 3rd. But I'm doing this one day earlier than I usually do, just because I have a busy week coming up. And Monday, when I usually do my vlogs, the morning is just full, and I like to do them in the morning. So anyways, let's pretend that it is Monday and not Sunday. So having said that, let's take a look. You saw the little teaser at the beginning with Walter's birthday cake. It was his birthday last week. He turned 61, and we went out for dinner for that event. Went to a restaurant called The Keg, which is a very popular steakhouse chain here in Canada. And we like it because it's always consistently good and service is excellent. And yeah, it's a very nice night out. So we did that for his birthday. And that's about it. And of course, last week on Stephen and Walter Live, we had a little celebration of Walter's birthday as well. And if you're interested, you can check that out. And in the show notes below, I have a link to Stephen and Walter Live from last week. At least I think I do. You know, you think one day different when you're making your vlog, you wouldn't get so mixed up, but I do. Okay, anyways, what's been happening? Well, last week I talked about all the classes I'm taking in quilt making, and that's one reason why I'm so busy during the week. This week coming up is no different. I have a quilting class on Monday, a quilting class on Tuesday, have to take my car in for servicing on Wednesday. I have a quilting class on Thursday. Friday, I'll have to go over and visit my mother and do some other things. So it's been busy, busy, busy. And this past weekend has been very, very busy as well, which I'm going to talk about the things I was doing. Friday and Saturday, I was at a sewing retreat. And today, later, I'm teaching an art journaling class. So yeah, life has been very busy, but that's okay. So let's get back to the quilt classes. And I'm just going to give you a little preview of what I'm doing in those. One of the classes is called Dynamic Quilt or something like that. Actually, the pattern of the quilt is called Roman Tile. And this is a pretty involved class. I'll give you a preview. This is one of the blocks for the class. And you see all these little squares? These ones with the triangles in them? Those are called half square triangles. And I can tell you one thing. I'm just going to move my light down a little bit. I'm getting a bit of a glare. And I will tell you one thing. Half square triangles are not hard to make, but the smaller they are, the more accurate you have to be. I worked on this almost the whole day on Saturday at the retreat to get everything to line up. A year ago, I wasn't that concerned about the accuracy of my pieces in my quilt tops. This year, and I guess this comes with experience, I am. So if it's not lining up, I rip it out and start over. And I had to do that with this one several times. Plus, there are a ton of little, like 320 half square triangles. That's these little things up here that I need to make for this quilt. And they're not hard to make, but they're tedious. because it's just repetition, repetition, repetition. And I did learn at the retreat some various methods for making these. I knew of a couple, but I learned a few more and some tools that might help, so that's great. And this is the second block that goes in the same quilt. And it's just a variation basically on that first one that you saw. But again, all kinds of these little squares that have to be made, and everything has to be sewn together very precisely. Now, when I get it all done, it will be a very dynamic quilt. I don't have a picture of the actual quilt, but it is spectacular looking. But when will I get it done? I'm not going to get it all done in just the classes. And I'm going to be so far behind because the other classes, I'm not going to, I'm going to fall behind. But that's okay. It's not a race. The other class that I'm taking is called the Log Cabin Redo. This is a sample block from it. I've actually altered some of the colors that are in this, and mainly because I thought I could make this out of 2 layer cake packages. Layer cake packages are 10-inch squares, and I thought 2 would do 20 of these blocks. No, because layer cakes are only 10 inches square, and some of these longer pieces are 10 inches and 10.5 inches, and I think one of them is even 11. So I had to substitute other yardage for this. But this is basically what each square will look like when it's done. But you'll notice that it looks a little off center. Well, it is on purpose because the way you lay these out makes the pattern. And I think it's going to be really good. Now, this one is not anywhere near as complicated as the first one I showed you. But again, it's a question of time, and what I can get done, I'll get done. They'll get done. It's just going to take a while. The third quilt is an artistic looking quilt, an art quilt, and it's this one. This is the picture of what it will look like when it's done. And it should be really quite spectacular. But this has over 400 little pieces of fabric, and you're doing it, it's called paper piecing. And paper piecing is not difficult, but time consuming. And I had to draw out all those 400 and some odd pieces in a pattern. And now what we're doing is attaching it to, it's not actually paper, it's interfacing, which makes things a little easier because when you do it actually on paper, you have to pull the paper away from it. With this, the interfacing can be left in. It makes the quilt a little stiffer, but that's okay because this is really a wall hanging. And well, we'll see how far we get with that as well. So yeah, actually, it's keeping me very, very busy. And as I said before, but that's okay. I like to be busy. But it does get in the way of other things that I do in a more routine fashion, like my vlogs. So again, that's one of the reasons why I have to plan my time out appropriately. Okay, what else do I have to show you? Well, at the retreat, I did win, let me just get them here. I did win a couple of door prizes, and those were a couple of books. Get that little thing off there, that was the number of the thing. So I basically won these 2 books. It was a bit of a game. It was kind of fun. It was sort of like a silent auction, if you know what a silent auction is. They had about 16 prizes laid out, and there was a bag with a number on it to match each prize. And you were given tickets, and we earned the tickets through other games we played during the weekend. And I think I earned about 16 tickets or something like that. And you write your name on the back of the ticket, and you deposit it into the bags for the prizes you would like to win. Now, you could put 1 in each bag, or you could put 2 in one bag, 3 in another, whatever, playing the odds. So I ended up winning these 2 books, which I think will be pretty great. So the other thing that was really interesting about the weekend, besides the games, we had food and things like that, was a couple of, now if it was the scrapbooking world, I would have called them make and takes. But these were little projects that were demoed for us, and we had the option to make them right there. And so there was one called the Tool Caddy, and I just love this thing. In fact, I love it so much, I made a second one for Walter. Because this is mounted on you can see the base here, on an acrylic frame, you know, one of those cheap plastic, this is a 5x7 acrylic picture frame, and you make this sleeve, and it has these pockets at the front, and there's another pocket at the back, and there's one back here too. Got a little pad of paper in it. And basically this sits beside your sewing machine and has your most used or frequently used tools right in this little tool caddy. And so you just pick out what you need and put it back. And I think that's brilliant. And it was not hard to make. It was kind of fun to make. And yeah, I really like it. And I could see, you know, changing this pattern slightly so it goes on one of those bigger frames and you get more things in it. But this is great for when you're traveling to classes or to retreats and things like that. Everything's right at your fingertips. So that was fun, and as I said, I made one for Walter too. And then, oh, this was just brilliant. Now, I found out later that there's all kinds of YouTube videos, and I watched a few of them about making one of these, but these are so easy. Anybody could make one of these. If you've got any experience with using a sewing machine, doesn't matter how extensive that is, you could make this. This is a bag, okay? Looks like a kit bag. And it's made, there's no cutting involved. Well, that's not true. You cut off your zipper tails. But this is all made from a bottom quilted placemat. I think the lady who showed us how to make this got these placemats at Walmart for about $5 a piece. And then you get a zipper that's big enough for your bag, and it's just brilliant. And this happened to be a scalloped placemat, so that's why the way you fold it, yeah, I got this little decorative sort of top on here, little border. And I was going to make a bag like this. I had instructions for how to do this, a pattern I actually bought. And that one is very involved. And the product is pretty much the same. But this was so easy. Made this in about 10 minutes or less. So simple. And now I can put all my sewing notions when I go off to a crop or a class in here, and they're easy to find. I was using other pouches that were a little longer and you couldn't see what you had in this. But this, you just open it up, take what you want, and away you go. So I want to make some more of these, and I think you could even adapt this idea for making a really quick tote bag as well. You probably need a couple of placemats for that, but great for gifts. Some of the ladies were saying they made these at Christmas time, filled them with chocolates as teachers' gifts, that kind of thing. You could make coordinating sets of these, and they're so fast and inexpensive to make. So out of the highlight of the weekend, I think for me, was making this. And as I said, it only took about 10 minutes. So that was pretty cool. And, well, I might as well talk a little, well, no, I'll talk a little bit more about the weekend later on in the vlog. But now it's a time for the YouTube channel of the week. This one is by a gentleman who uses a pseudonym, Bootise Sweettarts. It's a crafting video. It's a sewing, crocheting, knitting, collage, paper crafting, gardening. It's got a lot of things in it. Now, it's a fairly brand new YouTube channel, and I met the gentleman who runs this when I was in Florida. He was staying at the same place that we were staying at, and we got talking about YouTube channels, and lo and behold, he has this one. So I have done a quickie review of it, and you can watch this and maybe go off and check out Bootise Sweettarts. This week's YouTube channel is called Bootise Sweettarts, and this is a kind of a quirky little website by a gentleman that I met when we were in Florida on our vacation. And it has a variety of different crafts and projects. Roy, the owner of Bootise Sweettarts, does sewing. He does purses and wallets and things like that. Plus, he's a gardener. Plus, he does other fine crafting kind of videos. So this is a good one to check out. Also, he shares his philosophy about life and lifestyle, which are all very interesting. He's fairly new on the scene for YouTube channels, so I hope that you'll go and support him so he can build up his channel and give us a lot more great videos. So that's Bootise Sweettarts. So the link for Bootise Sweettarts is in the show notes below as usual. And I also have in there a link for the Creative Collage for Scrapbooks, which is a book I'm going to talk about in a few moments. And let's move on to what's pissing me off this week. Nothing much particularly, but it's kind of funny. I got thinking about this after watching a YouTube video by a channel, a lady called Darlene Michaud, I think is her name. I've reviewed her channel before, and she does a lot of from the car type vlogs. And she had an experience at a grocery store. She lives in Maine, USA. She had an experience this past week at a grocery store that she goes to on a regular basis. You'll have to see the video to understand what I'm talking about, but essentially she was talking about customer service. And I have talked about customer service before and how bad it is this day and age, but I just for a moment, and I'm not going to dwell on this, I want to talk about when you call up a place for customer service and you get a recording. Okay, we've all been there, we've all been on hold, and I hate that. So now when I have to contact a company, and if they have a website, I'll look to see if they have a chat mode. A lot of them do. Now I like using the chat mode because oftentimes you get somebody pretty quickly, as opposed to being put on hold and listening to stupid music on the phone. I do that with my internet provider, my telephone provider, that's Bell Canada, and I get pretty quick service when I do that. It is a bit of a pain in the butt that you have to be typing back and forth, but one advantage is I don't have to worry about somebody's accent. And what I mean by that is, you know how you get people that have an accent that come from a country outside of your own, and I'm sorry, but I don't understand them. And I keep saying, I'm sorry, excuse me, pardon me. I mean, I don't want to really offend them, but I don't understand what they're saying. So if I use the chat mode, I don't have to worry about an accent. And so I like to do that anytime I get the option. However, this week I needed to make an appointment with my car dealership to take my car in for some general servicing, an oil change, stuff like that. And on Saturday morning, I was going off to the sewing retreat. So, and it started at about 9:30. So I was leaving about 9 o'clock to get there. And I thought, well, just before I go, I'll give the dealership a call to make arrangements for, you know, the middle of the week kind of a thing. Well, I've checked their website out to get their phone number, and they're not open till 9 o'clock. But so I thought, well, rather than wait and call them from the sewing retreat kind of a thing on my cell phone, I would go through their chat mode, and it was there. And lo and behold, clicked on that, got somebody immediately, told them what I wanted. You know, I wanted this type of servicing for my car, and I want to, if I could, I'd like to make an appointment for Wednesday of this week, you know, preferably in the morning, this kind of stuff. And the chat person is going, yes, sure, I can help you with that, blah, blah, blah. And then after I gave all the information and they asked for a contact phone number and an email address and the whole bit, they turned around and said, okay, we'll forward this to the dealership and somebody should call you back at some point in time. Well, I've been that route before where they're supposed to call you back because I've called the dealership before and I get their bloody voicemail and I leave a message, a detailed message about what I want, who I am, how to contact me, and I don't get a call back. Or I get a call back like hours later out of it all. Or, you know, or I've missed the call because I wasn't home when they made the call. Although now I give them my cell phone number, and so, you know, you can get me almost anywhere. It just annoys me that they put into place something that's supposed to be convenient, more efficient, and the whole bit for the customer. And all it does is loop you back to an older method that is less effective. So why bother? So I ended up calling them myself from the retreat, and I got the voicemail again, And however, they did call me back within about 15 minutes. So I don't know if it was a combination because of however their chat mode works or whatever, or just I was lucky. But anyways, I was able to get my service for this. Now, having said that, I want to tell you about something that happened this week that goes the opposite way with this chat mode. I have a very expensive iron that I bought when I first started quilting. I've had it for just over a year. It's called an Alicio. And it's an iron, I don't know if you've ever seen one on any YouTube videos, but basically this iron, you can sit it flat down on your table instead of up on its end, and it pops up. It's very cool. And I think I did on an Idiot Quilter or a vlog way back a year ago when I first got it, I think I did show it. It's a good iron though too, besides that feature. I mean, and you want to have a good iron when you're quilting because you're going to use an iron a lot. And you know, it comes from a company that I thought was very respectable in the whole bit. Well, on Monday, I turned on my iron and it didn't turn on. I thought, okay, let's try it in different outlets. Tried it. Nope, nothing. I tried all kinds of different things to think of just to make sure that really it was the iron and not me. And long story short, it didn't work. So I'm at my quilting class last Monday and I mentioned this to one of the other ladies that's in the class, and she had one of those irons and she said the exact same thing happened to her. It just died for no reason. But she says the customer service is really good. Just email them or contact them and they'll probably send you out a new one because they did for her. So I thought, okay, now I could take it back to where I bought it, which was Ultimate Sewing. But you know, technically it's not their fault. They don't manufacture it. Also, it was 2 weeks beyond the expiry date of the warranty, of course, you know. So I went online to get the number for this company, and lo and behold, they had a chat. So I clicked on it. I got someone very immediately. I told this person what my problem was, the whole bit. They said, no problem, you can send it back to us. We will send you a UPS sticker for that. They were covering the cost of shipping it. And I asked them, and they would repair it. I'm hoping they send me a new one, but I don't know, that whatever. But they're in California. I'm in, you know, outside of Toronto, Canada. But no problem with the UPS. I had never shipped anything by UPS before, so I filled out the forms. And there was a UPS store very close to me, so I went in, and they were great. No problem, very efficient for sending it off to them. I asked them in the chat, you know, how long it would be before I would see it again. And they said, well, it would probably take 5 to 10 business days. Well, I'm figuring it's going to take at least 2 weeks, whatever, but we'll see. So I sent that off, and there's a tracking system through UPS. So I thought the other day I would take a look at the tracking list. It hasn't gotten to California yet. This is now 5 days later, 6 days later. It's UPS. UPS, you know, they get things out pretty fast. Apparently, there's been big snowstorms or something in, you know, the Midwest of the United States, and I guess that has delayed them sending it. Now I'm getting a little worried. Now, of course, I have all the paperwork, so if UPS loses it or something like that, you know, I think I do have some, you know, recall, or that's not really the word, but you know what I mean. I've got some something to fall back on to find out where my iron is. But my point here is their chat system was efficient, worked well, everything came right through, no problem. They emailed me the stuff I needed. I got it within minutes, like right when I was during the chat, pretty much. So they've got a system that works. Why can't other places have systems that works? It's just inefficiency, and I guess that's what bugs me. Inefficiency for customer service. And let's face it, most businesses survive or die pending their customer service. So anyways, that's all I had to really beef about this week, be pissed off about, and it's really not much. Sorry, maybe next week. Okay, Product review. Well, I bought these moldable foam blocks, and I mentioned them last week, and I got them. And I haven't taken them out of the package yet, and later today I'm teaching an art journaling class, so I'm going to have an opportunity to try them out there, and I'll let you know how they work. But essentially, you press them into any, like into a stencil, into something, objects and what, it, you know, takes on the shape of those objects, and then you can use them like a giant stamp kind of a thing, you know, like a rubber stamp. So I think it's going to be very useful for mixed media projects. So I'll let you know and maybe show you some results in next week's vlog. Again, because I'm doing this one day before, some of these things I want to talk about would have happened already, but they don't. It's just a time lag in all of this, okay? And sorry if it's causing you some confusion. Believe me, I'm a little confused myself. Okay, product reviews. Going through my stash of books that are hard to get, and I came across this one. And this one's all about doing collage for scrapbooks. And lately I've been showing you a lot of books about scrapbooking because I'm doing my series on my evolution as a scrapbooker and into paper crafting. So this is one of the books that I found very helpful. It is by the company Memory Makers Books. They don't exist anymore. But you can still get this, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But basically, this book takes you through and gives you lots of examples of how you can use the technique of collage on your scrapbooking pages. And everybody knows what collage is, I think. But what I find with this book, and even now I find this, which is great with mixed media, this very inspiring. I mean, it's just showing some techniques that I probably knew about years ago, but I have not used them in a long time, or if at all. And it's just, I'm revisiting this, and it's just giving me more ideas. And really, that's what these kind of books are for. They're for inspiration more than anything. Yes, you'll learn some techniques as well, but I just find leafing through these kind of things, you know, especially when I'm feeling like I have an artistic block, gives me some inspiration to work with. Now, what about the cost of this and where can you get it? Well, I did locate it on Amazon.ca, and now get this, price though is not good. It's $45 Canadian. Now originally it retailed for $22.99 US, $31.99 Canadian. However, there was some used ones, and they started at about $2.05. Again, no idea what that would cost to be shipped to you. It may make it even more expensive, who knows. But it is available there. Now, the other thing I want to talk about too when I talk about these kind of books is your local library. Your local library probably has a craft or hobby section in it. It might be worthwhile, if you're interested in getting ideas and things, is going to that section of your library and checking those books out. They're free, and what the heck? I mean, sit down, you could photocopy some of the pages that you like, whatever, take notes, that kind of thing. Take a picture with your cell phone of different ideas, and it's free. So don't forget about your local library for resources. Okay, so that takes us to another segment in my series on the evolution of my scrapbooking. And this week, I'm going to focus on pet albums. So here's the clip. In this segment, I want to talk about another specialized scrapbooking album, which I'm sure many of us have if we have pets, because we like to take lots of pictures of our pets. They're a member of our family. Sometimes they're closer than some of our family members. And so back in 2002, we rescued a kitty from the Toronto Humane Center, and this was our Miss Cleo. And I found this album sometime later that I really liked because it looked like Cleo. And this is a picture of Cleo here on the cover. It's got a little scratch mark on it. She was a beautiful little cat. When we got her, we weren't sure how old she was or why she was in the shelter, especially since she was so beautiful. We think she may have been abandoned, or she may have been actually a feral cat that they had found. We found out later she was malnutritioned. She probably had a pretty rough life if she was out on the street. You know, pretty girls do. And she was definitely that. So we rescued her and we brought her home, and in no time she got back her health and was, well, we called her our daughter. She was the most beautiful cat. So I created this specialty album about her. I love this album because, as I said, it had a cat on the cover of it that looked very much like Cleo. And it's a very special story about me. So this is Cleo's album. And in this album, and so many scrapbook albums do this, you see an evolution in time, in the way things change, the way people change, but also your pets change as well. This is a very emotional album for me, and you may hear it in my voice at times. We lost her in 2015. She had pancreatic cancer. She stopped eating, and she was just literally wasting away. The vet wasn't absolutely sure how long she had. We don't know how old she was. We had her for 13 years. We think she may have been anywhere between 14 to 16 years old. We're not really sure. The vet couldn't tell when we first got her and took her in for a checkup, and he said she might be a year old. She might be older than that at the time. So anyways, this is the album about Miss Cleo. Okay, this is a little upsetting for me. I forgot these were in here. Yeah, just give me a second. We had posted on our Facebook page the day that Cleo passed away, and we had so many tributes for this, and I kept them all. She was also featured as a centerfold picture in a service that we had out here that we would get every time we went away to look after her. And it was called the Pet Nanny Plus, and they put out a calendar every year that you could buy. It was a fundraiser, and you could submit pictures of your cats. Well, I think she was Miss December. No, she was Miss February. I think there she is there. Beautiful girl. But anyways, that's what Cleo looked like for most of her life. But this is what Cleo looked like when we first got her. And you can see in these pictures how scrawny she was. We didn't realize how scrawny she was. We just thought she was young. But even in her face. And of course you can see when we talk about the evolution of scrapbooking that I was still doing at this time, or had just gotten into, using the creative memories. So I have a lot of ovals and things like that. But you will see the evolution as time went on. Not a lot of journaling in here, but pictures of her. Oh, she was such a baby. And here she is with Walter and I. She was the most loving little cat that you could ever find, but she had a definite personality, and she ruled. And a lot of people say, you know, dogs have masters, but cats have staff. And we were definitely her staff. Here's a technique I used. I think I mentioned this in one of the previous videos. I had this program that created kaleidoscope effects with your pictures, so there's one that I did as well. And still, these pages, for the most part, are still being done in Creative Memories. And you'll notice the background papers, they had specialty, well, they still do, I'm sure, have specialty background papers for pets with paw prints and other things that are appropriate. So I use these in this album. And there's Walter, much younger Walter, and me here, and he's brushing her. She loved to be brushed. And I put, this is Cleo at her best, playing with her mouse on the stairs. She has her full winter coat on in this picture. She is as fluffy as a little snowdrift. This was December 2002, and that was, we got her in May of 2002, and this is about 6 months later. So you can see the difference between the pictures I showed you before and the way she looked here. And she wasn't completely pure white. She had little markings on her head and on her tail. She had a beautiful tail. Now here, this page, I tried some quilling in here. It's getting a little bit more daring. This was Christmas time, naughty or nice. I'm still doing titles on vellum. And I got some of those 3D foam letters that kids use was trying those out. And of course, these are just pictures of Cleo doing what Cleo did best, sleep, and with me. And then I got into embellished, embossed vellum. I did that, and more 3D embellishments. I mean, I understand why people keep albums of their children, and why they have so many pictures, and why they always seem to be behind, as they say, in getting their children's books together or grandchildren's books together, because it was the same with Cleo. I did the same thing with her, because after all, she was my little girl. Look here, this picture. She looks fat, but she's all fur. And then, of course, some pictures of Cleo out in the deck. She was an indoor cat, but we let her out in the deck occasionally, and I think this might have been one of the first times she was out there, so she was exploring and looking around. Look at that face. Some fibers. I started using fibers, more tags, more embellishments, and things like this. Got a little fancy with the borders here. As you can see, I started into paper tearing and inking on the edges, so that was part of my evolution as well. And again, here, the torn pages. I think I was in a class where I learned how to do this kind of little border treatment. And of course, I was moving more now into the digital, not just for printing pictures, but also in the backgrounds. And you'll see that as time goes on, that more of these are digital. This is all digital, with the exception of the background paper. This was put on top of the background paper, mainly because I wanted to use the background paper. More writing on or printing on vellum, torn and curled edges. And so you can see I was experimenting with fonts and things in here as well. And as time goes by, you can see again in this book itself, even though this was a specialty album, there's an evolution here in my technique and in my styles. This is completely digital. This is not completely digital, but I was doing sort of a little frame-by-frame shot of her playing. This, of course, is the digital page, one of her visits to the vet for her checkup every year. She did not like going to the vet, I can tell you that. We get out the cat carrier, and she knew where she was going, and she didn't want to go. So basically, it took two of us to stuff the kitty in the box, kind of a thing. Now, this is one that I used to keep in my classroom every year. This is an old grammar text called Mastering Effective English, and she just happened, I had it sitting on the floor for some reason, I don't know why now, and she was sitting by it. She always liked to be around to see what you were doing, and in those days she could get downstairs to my craft room, so she'd often be down here when I was working on my computer or working at my craft bench, and she'd be sitting at my feet. And so I took this picture, and I called it Litty Kitty Literature. And I used to have that in my classroom, and the kids loved this. They always want to know about Cleo and, and everything like that. And just more, this is all digital, and this is all digital. And you see I'm getting a little bit more sophisticated in the digital, because this picture I actually figured out how to, take the picture out from the background and create a new background for it. And as I was saying, she loved to be, all cats do, they love to be with you when you're working, and they like to be the center of attention. So this was Walter's office at the time, and he had his computer set up, and after I'd go to bed, because I go to bed much earlier than Walter, she'd get in there and she'd crawl right up and lay across his computer keyboard. Yeah, and then this. Now this one, if you're on my Facebook, you have seen this one. This is the one that I use as my banner in my on my Facebook page. I was experimenting with like double exposure and photo elements and that kind of thing. This was actually layered several different pictures, and I put Cleo in there as well. And this one was a neat picture when I took it, called it Into the Light, because she was walking into a shadow, so half of her's in the dark and half of her's in the light. And I just thought that was an interesting picture. And some more techniques, digital techniques that I was trying out. This picture right here was one of my favorite, because it looked like she was sticking her tongue out at me, because I'd have photo sessions with Cleo. And I think people do this with their children as well as pets for their photo for their albums. And I did, and this one is an 8. I took this and blew it up to 8 by 10, and it sits in a frame on my dresser in my bedroom, and I see her every morning. And I'm not sure, this kind of has come out, but the glue, I have no idea what this was. I guess it was just a little embellishment that I was making. Maybe I meant to put a picture in it. I'm not sure, but I'll just tuck that back in. And no, we did not have 2 Cleos. She was not a twin. That was, she liked to lay in front of the mirrored doors, and so I caught her laying there. She liked that because she'd follow the sun during the day as it came in through various windows of the house, and she'd like to lay in the sun. And this is another shot of her laying in the sun as well. I'm sorry that I'm talking more about her than I am about the scrapbook techniques. It's just as I said, I haven't looked at this in a while. She's been gone now 3 years, and it's bringing back some nice memories. And here's a technique that I used for creating like a mosaic effect. Included her picture in there. So that's another type of specialty album. And in my next segment, I will look at a few other albums that aren't as conventional as using the 12 by 12 album style. So next week, I think I will look at what I call unconventional albums. Some albums that I put together, and probably the very beginnings of when I was starting to get more into making my own journals and albums and things like that. And I call that unconventional albums or scrapbooks. So that'll be on the video next week, hopefully, if I find some time to make it. Okay, so works in process. Well, I've put in a little video clip of the next stages that I'm working on with my album creation. So that video is right here. So what I want to do now is put some pockets into this album. So I've decided that I want 2 large pockets and 2 smaller pockets. And I'm going to install, and I've already done this, but I'm going to show you how I did that in a minute. I want to put a small pocket here on the front, back of the front cover, and I want to put another one here at the back. And I've also incorporated a larger pocket right here, and it fills the whole page, as you can see. So that's the back part of the page. So let me get this in shot. And this is the pocket itself. Now these I already designed on my Cricut Maker, but you could easily take the pockets that come with the kit and use them as your template and just draw them out. And there are a couple of flaps, and I'll show you here in a second. Just let me grab this. Here's one of them already cut out, and on the back you can see I have scored 2 edges, and the pockets in this particular iCraft kit already come with the score marks. I just reproduced those when I reproduced it into my Cricut, and the idea is these get folded in, and this is where you put your adhesive. And I've put some here already. I'm using double-sided tape, and again, you could just use ordinary glue. Using glue will give you some wiggle room, whereas this does not give you any wiggle room, so you want to get it right on exactly where you want it the first time, or you're going to have a devil of a time trying to pull it up and reposition it. However, if you use the wet glue, depending on the glue you use, it may warp a little bit of your some spots of your pages, but it's up to you. What you want to use. So I've already got these on here. Now what I did was, when I folded them on the score lines, I did take my bone folder, let me move that up here, and I did give it a good crease with this. I also used the 1/2" double-sided tape because it fits and covers the entire area of the pockets. Now you don't want your adhesive, whether using using wet glue or using the tape, to go over the edges of that, because then there won't be enough room to get whatever you want to put inside the pocket into it. So I've decided I want to put the other pocket, I think on this page. Do I want to do that page or that? Let's see. Just to keep it consistent. Yeah, I think I'll put it on this page. And I want this part, this is actually the right side of it, I want the cutout part to go this way, so I can slide things in from this side. If I was to put it this way, it would work, but depending on what I have on this page, it might make it awkward to slip anything in. So I want it facing out. Also, I'm thinking that I may add some large tags to this album as well, and I may want the edges of the tags to project out further than the page itself. But we'll come to that in another segment. So I'm just going to take the tape off, and I'm using my little paper piercer for this, because I find that helps me peel off the backing very easily. Okay, so I've got those protective strips off. Now I'm just going to position this, and my head may get in the shot here for a second because I want to be very precise. I want to line up the bottom of this pocket with the bottom of the page here, but I don't want to go over the edge, over the hinge, because it'll block the book from shutting. And you can see how sticky this is. It's sticking to my fingers. So I'm just going to try and get it lined up corner to corner. And then just stick it down. And then I like to go over it with the bone folder to make sure it's touching the entire surface of that page, making sure it's got a good stick. And there we have my second pocket right on this page. So you can see I can slip stuff in here. And we will be doing that, as I said, later on. So the other pocket, now this I had to redesign. In the original design, the pocket, the smaller pocket, was pretty much the same height as this page, and I didn't want another pocket on here facing out. I've got two that are doing that. I wanted something that I could just stick things down in here, so I went into my Cricut Maker and I reduced the size. Now you could do the same thing with the pre-created pockets in the kit by simply just cutting down the edges, so you can make it fit. You don't have to use the size that the kit comes with. So I'm going to put this next pocket on the back here. Now you can see that on this particular one, let's get this down here for a second. Okay, on this I have not yet folded it, but there are score lines along here. But this is what they look like before you fold the score lines. So you want to fold those in. I'm going to use this side, so I want to fold these in. And I'm still using the same paper that from the same collection, the Graphic 45 Communique, I think it was called, collection, throughout. And it's nice to use a paper collection because that means all of your pages coordinate. Now, I'm going to give it a good fold or pressing with the bone folder. And just before I put the two-sided tape on, I want to add a little bit of shadowing effect to the edges. So I'm using my brown StazOn, which is what I used around the page edges before. And it's just giving it a bit of that distressed look and also a little bit of dimension. It'll make it stand out from the background paper. Okay, put that back away and put the cover on it so it doesn't dry out. And now I'm going to put on my tape. Now in this case, on the other one I used the wider tape because I had more space. In this one I'm going to use the 1/4 inch because these are a little smaller. Again, you could use wet glue for this, but I prefer a good quality double-sided tape. And as I mentioned in a previous video segment, that you want to use a good quality double-sided tape, not the stuff from the dollar store, because you want this to stick and to stay forever. And since things are going to be pulled in and out of this as a pocket, that's even more important that it stays in place. Okay, so on this one, I've designed it so it's a little smaller than the background paper, so I'm just eyeballing it, centering it, putting the bottom part along the bottom part of the paper that's already there. And again, you want to press it. I got pages happening here. Let me get my book in the right spot. That's a little better. And there you have another pocket on the back of the album. So you can see now that our album is starting to shape up very nicely. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to start putting in some of my inserts that are going to go in here. Maybe some tags in the pockets, some journaling cards, things like that. And I'm going to get these from the paper pack itself, the collection that I'm using, because there's a lot of cutaways or cut aparts, I guess they're called, that I can use. So that's what we'll do in the next segment. So that brings us to events in the past week, and I've already talked a little bit about the sewing retreat, and that was great. And I did take a little video clip of what it looked like. We had it in a local community hall. Actually, it's the German club in our town, Club Lorelei, and I've never been there before, but very nice venue for this kind of thing. And of course, our meals were provided. We had lunch and dinner each day. Now, the retreat went on, actually, technically speaking, I should be at the retreat right now, but because I'm teaching the art journaling class later today, I couldn't go for the full 3 days. So I just went for Friday and Saturday. And it was a ton of fun. I didn't get as much done as I thought I was going to get done. Thought I'd get way ahead on the log cabin quilt and on the dynamic quilt that I was showing you earlier, but it didn't happen. And why was that? Well, one, everybody talks. And this is my guild, and I don't know a lot of the people in the guild yet. Well, this was definitely a weekend for getting to know some people there. And had a lot of fun. And I think people know who I am now after this. I don't know if that's good or bad. I think I'll be known as the guy who hates half-square triangles. But it was fun. And it's also, you know, a great environment for sharing ideas, because being a relatively new person to the quilting world, I learned so much from a lot of these more experienced ladies in there about this. So it was well worth my effort to go to it. I mean, I hesitated before I went, you know, thinking, okay, I'm the only guy at this, but I've been the only guy at other things too, so that wasn't really a major problem. But I'm so glad that I went, and I will definitely go again. And it just makes me even looking more forward to the 4-day retreat that Walter and I are going on, that's being sponsored by Ultimate Sewing, the store I hang out in for my classes and all my quilting products. And that comes up in the first part of March. It's only about a month away. So it was a good time. And I took a little video that I'll insert right here so you can just see what the environment was like. Okay, so I thought I'd just let you see what I did all on the weekend at the sewing retreat from my guild. And you can see here some of the ladies working on their projects. And this is a local little club called Club Lorelei. And meals were provided, and they were very good, all homemade. This lady here is doing some free motion quilting, and these other ones are putting together pieces. And we were set up in groups of 4, and we had a central hub for electricity that we plugged into, because you can't quilt unless you have electricity for your sewing machine. And yeah, it was not a huge group, but quite a few were there. And this is my little group, and that's Mary Lou working on hers. And this is Sharon, she's the president of our guild, and some of the other ladies at the back. They were brought in their own lighting because, well, you need a lot of light. And this right here is my workstation, so it was a lot of fun. So as I said, we had a lot of fun. Okay, what else? Mom was doing fine. Enough said about that. And my sewing classes you've already heard about. And I would have told you about the art journaling class, but this is actually Sunday, not Monday, and I haven't had the art journaling class yet. So that'll be something I'll talk about on next week's vlog. But this week is basically a workshop kind of a thing where everybody can work at their own pace, at their own project, whatever that may be. And that's by the request of my core of ladies that come every month for this. And so every other month, I actually we do a free-for-all. That's what I call it. I don't know what I'm going to work on today. I'm kind of pooped out. And so creatively, I don't know how creative I'm going to be, but we're going to do it anyways. And I'm sure that I will have a good time. I always do. Yeah, okay, so that's about it. And then I'm getting my car service, woohoo, on Wednesday. And this little servicing, it's not just an oil change. I don't know what they do, but they're telling me it's going to cost me about $226 and some odd cents. So I'm not sure what that's all about. My car is old, but it's in good shape. That's because Walter drives me everywhere, kind of thing. So, you know, it's an 11-year-old Honda Civic, 2008. Been a great car, but I only have 66,400 some odd miles on it, or kilometers, sorry, kilometers. That, for an 11-year-old car, that's like less than 20,000 kilometers a year that I've been putting on it. A lot less than that, actually. So, yeah, and I'm not getting rid of that car for a while. Not until it finally, you know, if it starts costing me a lot of money in upkeep, then I'll think about a new car. And I'm hoping by then all cars will drive themselves. And I can be Ms. Daisy sitting in the back and the car can take me wherever I want to go. I guess I'll have to wait until the 2030 models come out. Okay, so what else is coming up? Oh, I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow morning. Another reason why I'm doing the vlog one day earlier, because I have a doctor's appointment at 9 o'clock and then I have a sewing class at 10 o'clock. So the day is already filled up at that point. Nothing serious or anything. It's just this new doctor I've got, and you've heard me mention this before, she's very thorough. And she put me on blood pressure pills, which I don't think are really doing anything. I monitor my blood pressure every day, and it's still kind of erratic. I didn't even know I had a blood pressure problem until I went to this new doctor. So she has me on this medication, and I guess she wants to check now. I've been on this medication for a couple of months, I guess it has been now. And I guess she just wants to check to see how that's working on my system. And I have a feeling that we'll have a bit of a discussion on possibly alternative medication, or whether she needs to up the dosage of this one that I'm on, because in my opinion, I have not seen any kind of great change with this. I don't know if I need to be on it for longer or whatever, but we'll see, and she will tell me, I'm sure. So what else? Well, I think that's about it. So again, I hope I don't confuse you too much about the days. I'm probably going to post this on the Sunday, but it's probably going to be labeled as Monday. Woo, whatever. So I hope you have a good week. I hope your week isn't as busy as what mine have been and are being, unless you like that kind of thing, and that's great. But anyways, I hope you have a good week, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye for now.